Hello everybody and welcome to the second phase of my Pantera adventure in Oklahoma, USA. Yesterday we assessed the car, had an initial look around, and I agreed a deal with Anita to buy the car. Today the ambition is to catalogue, look through as many of the parts as possible, then put the engine and gearbox into the car, any other ancillary bits, and finally roll it out into the sunshine for the first time in years to have a proper look. We started off unloading the truck. We brought a load of tools, engine and gearbox stands, and though there was an engine lift there, Chuck insisted on bringing his own as he deemed it more suitable. We went through the parts yesterday, and to be quite honest, it was extremely daunting. There's so much more here than I had anticipated, and going through all the various bits, I realised that although you look at it and you think, well, it's almost done, it really isn't. There is an awful lot of work left here to do. Here's a quick highlight of what we have found so far. The ZF gearbox, associated gearbox parts and drive shafts, the clutch, cooling, ignition, alternator, a brace kit, aircon parts and loads of seals, engine, carburetor, associated bolts, parts and gaskets, and a whole host of extra spares I don't need, which Mike will be taking. These include manifolds, spare wheels, the original cylinder heads, windows, axle shafts, and there's also a pile of interior bits that I forgot to film. So we have one major dilemma. This window's down. We have to make sure that we close it up for transport, and you've seen the state of the electrics, so we don't know what's going on. So we have Chuck sort of jerry-rigging his battery, which has different terminals on, and now Mike is just going to try, turn on the ignition, and then even the windows and see what happens. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
We will try to make sure we don't let any smoke out of anything. Okay, that aftermarket fuse block illuminates,
Yeah.
which indicates there's power.
Try the window switch.
And here's a window switch. Let's see what happens.
Oh, yes.
Wow, look at that.
That is great.
We are in business.
Fantastic.
At least one thing works.
So before putting in the engine and gearbox, we had to go and get a load of nuts and bolts and fasteners. In the UK, this would have been a problem. Not in the US. Just look at this, a local hardware store. All this stuff is basically what they call standard fasteners, which includes car, nuts and bolts. And we managed to get absolutely everything we needed. So Chuck is busy just getting the engine to the state that we can lift it, which involved sort of putting the manifold together, lifting plate, so some sort of very basic assembly. How's it all going there, Chuck? All good? Right. So we're going to lift it off here, we're going to get it on the ground and then make the gearbox, then lift the whole thing, pop it in, and at the same time, Pilot Mike has been fitting door cards and generally helping me to identify parts that I've been labelling and putting in various different places. Didn't turn out to be the case. What you're seeing here is a vastly reduced version of the amount of time it actually took us to put them together. But together they did eventually go, so they were bolted up and then ready to be lifted into the engine bay, which again we thought would be quite a quick thing to do. Right everybody, well, the guys did loads of work yesterday, mating the gearbox to the engine, some various ancillaries and so on, to get as much on the engine as possible, and we really did think that it would be a few minutes and we would just pop this engine in, and basically we've been at it all morning. It's taken, I would say, probably a couple of hours from start to finish because it was just a little bit resistant to our charms in getting it all lined up. The plan was to line up the front mounts first, but even then, the right-hand one proved to be a challenge. The bolt just wouldn't line up. Once we managed to get that in place, we realised that there seemed to be no way to drop the back end in. So we went for a different technique. Back end in first. And once that was all in, we managed to get the front end bolts in too. It is in, and it's really weird how such a simple task can actually put a massive smile on my face. I love seeing the engine in the car for the first time. Now the bad thing, well, it's not a bad thing, but the thing is, this is all coming right back out when I get to the UK because the engine has to be checked, gearbox, stuff hasn't been done, torqued up, the clutch isn't in properly, but still, it is a step forward, massively satisfying. One thing though, what the heck is going on here? And as we were working in the engine bay, it's all been painted a lovely sort of gloss black. But we noticed there's some raised areas and then it comes off and completely peels off. Some kind of paint reaction, or perhaps they didn't prepare it properly before putting the gloss on. Let me know what you think, but ultimately this is all going to have to come off. Looks like there's already a tough sort of coat, mattish, sort of rough coat underneath, so perhaps if I can get it all off, I can just leave it like that. Otherwise, that's another area that will need a repaint. Next, it was the turn for the drive shafts, which went in without too much drama. But remember, I only have 8 of the 16 bolts, so if you have some spares, please let me know. The carb is a brand new quick fuel, which the guys have assured me is a very good unit and well matched to my engine. I can't help wondering though, whether it's worth considering putting in throttle bodies and fuel injection. Something to think of for the future. This car was missing its exhaust headers, so while there I managed to source a set of ceramic coated 351s from PI Motorsport. So finally the Pantera sees the light of day. I think this is the first time in quite a long time that it's been out here. And it's nice to see it lower down, get a bit more feel for the shape. Obviously at the moment it's sitting quite high. Those aren't the right wheels. There's a few other changes that are going to happen, but it is immensely satisfying to see this. There are still quite a few bits that we have to go through. Some of the stuff is packed in the car, but not quite. So we're going to look at the last few bits. And then today, tomorrow, we're going to finish packing it, putting any other bits on that we've got to put on. And then it will be ready to make its way to the UK. So it's been another long day, but we are practically there. The car is loaded to the gunnels. So at the back, front, the various compartments. And just before we go, the last thing we're going to do is make a list of all the things that we think are missing. Okay, so now it is time for that crucial element, which is how much car have I actually got and how much have I got to get? I think to start with, I already mentioned, I remember that there's a distributor missing on the car, right? Okay, so the first thing is Dizzy. We've got ignition and stuff like that.
Unrelated, but you need mufflers.
Okay, yeah, so Dizzy we've got, and then ignition stuff we have, right? It's just the distributor that's missing. Yeah. Then mufflers.
Small matter of a pilot bearing.
Okay, that goes from the gearbox into the engine, yeah?
Put shaft into the back of the crankshaft.
So that's still a fairly small thing.
The cooling system is complete apart from the water bombs.
Okay. And they sit in the back where the engine?
They sit in the back right over here, yes.
Yeah. And then what's next?
A little matter of the front hood latch.
Oh yeah, little thing, but
We
are
had to
they
do-
easy to get hold of, or?
Everything is easy to get a hold of if you know the right people.
What else have we got missing?
The ignition switch, there's two plastic
Oh, yeah.
covers that surround ignition and the turn signal switch.
Ignition, surround, yeah. What next?
Splash shields for the rear fenders,
Okay.
right and left. You need door mirrors in the UK on both sides.
Good idea.
There's this. Well,
Oh, the windscreen.
it is.
Okay, so let me just explain. There is a windscreen, which you can see it's all wrapped up there and covered. It wasn't on the car, but it is a flush-fitting windscreen, which none of us are particular fans of. So I'd rather have one with the trim. So I think I'm going to have to buy a windscreen.
Because you have the original trim, which is actually more expensive than the glass.
Okay. So how much do you think then, Mike, for a screen?
Well, good news is the screens are made in the UK.
Yeah.
So
how
that's
much?
convenient. I mean,
How much?
I don't know what they cost.
Okay.
Maybe £500,
Okay.
something like that. It's a guess. And while we're in the interior, a glove box.
Oh yeah, the actual whole glove. So the glove box is one piece that sort of
It's
rotates
one
into the dash.
It's a molded piece that hinges and drops down.
Yeah. So if anyone has one of those, because I have no idea where I'm going to get one, I'm interested in a glove box. Okay.
You need some. I mean, you got a bunch of just extra random bolts, but you're missing some critical bolts.
Yeah.
You only have two of the required flywheel bolts. You'll need a set of flywheel bolts, and you only have half of the bolts to retain the drive shafts or the half shafts. So we have them just sort of loosely put in with half the bolts, but you'll need to get the remainder, or it's not a full set.
One set drive shaft bolt.
You have starter studs, but they are not long enough with your high-powered new starter.
Are we there?
And you're a long way from there.
Okay. What else we got?
The front grille, the Detomaso logo, you have the logo, but you don't have the little housing that the logo is contained by, that attaches to the grille itself.
And you said those are like
Impossible
super
to
difficult.
find.
Well, how am I going to get that then?
Well, fabricated. Oh, and also your gear badges on the flanks there.
Side gear badges. Yeah.
Brake lines.
Okay, so brake line set. So I've got the flexes, right? But there's
Correct.
no solid brake
There's no
lines.
hard lines. And the same is probably true for the clutch as well. I
Right.
would count on getting both of those. An intact console for your gauges. When you had
Oh yeah, the lower console. Lower gauge
Yeah, the
console.
little gauge panel that contains the 4 minor gauges and the window switches. What about, does the UK require special headlights?
Okay, so UK.
UK headlights.
The engine compartment paint has got some weird blistering and so on. That's going to have to be redone. There's blistering on the rear arches. That's going to have to be redone. Had a look at the paint generally, and although the rest of it looks okay at first glance, when you look close up, it's just not very good. So I think we were chatting about it earlier, and I think we've decided that I'm going to get the car going as it is. Maybe just do the engine compartment while the engine is out, so that's done because that's just matte black. But I might consider repainting it once it's done. But for the moment, I don't want it to just be off the road for years, so the paint might have to wait. But that's pretty much it.
That's honestly all I can think of.
So let's give it a guesstimate. Apart from the paint,
Yeah.
a ballpark figure, and we'll see who's closest.
Oh, in terms of cost?
Chuck, and Mike, what do we think it could come to? And then we'll see who's closest.
$12,575. That is absurdly high.
That is massively high.
No paint, not including the paint.
Yeah, including the paint.
No, he's not including the
Oh,
paint.
he's not including
No
the
paint.
No paint.
Just these
Just
parts.
bits and
Well,
bobs.
that's easy then. That's
Yeah.
gonna be about $4,822.
I'm going to go high. I'm gonna say
4,800.
22.
All right, I'm going to go high. I'm
Mike?
going to say 5,012.
Oh, so both similar figures. And let's not forget, within that, there's also the tyres, the wheels, sorry, and tyres. So that's going to be another $5,000 at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got another $10,000 at least to put into this car, plus the paint, plus probably more. But, guys, thank you so... Thank... Thank you so much for all your help. I couldn't have done it without you. These guys have been amazing. Seriously, we're all a bit knackered now. I didn't film as much as I wanted today, but it's been great. I'm really glad to have this car. Bit daunted by how much I've got to do, but it's been a really amazing trip here in the US. So I'm just going to show you to close up a view of what we're seeing at the garage door because the skies are amazing. Keep your eyes open. When the car's back, we'll start the videos again. Thank you and see you soon.